Hey, Sparky, would you like to sing the alphabet with me? Okay, and can you do the strumming for me? He's going to do the strumming for me. Here we go. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Now I know my ABCs. Next time, won't you sing with Sparky and me? Very good, Sparky. Thank you. Well, I'll see you later. So, hello. Welcome to this video. My name is Sonia, and I am the Children's Services Coordinator at the Powell River Public Library.
Hi, my name is Alyssa. I'm the speech therapist at Public Health Unit in Powell River.
And what this is an introductory video to early literacy. And Alyssa and I are both going to talk a little bit about what each of us does and tie that into how you can support your child's early literacy, as well as how to access resources to help you along the way. So, a good place to start, we thought, is with the question, what do we mean when we talk about early literacy? Most of us, when we think about literacy, we think about reading and we think about writing. However, early literacy does not mean teaching young children how to read. It means getting them ready to read, and it begins at birth. Young children build a foundation for literacy through their interactions with language. And those can be broken down just generally into 5 interactions: talking, singing, reading, being read to, writing, and playing.
And just like Sonia was talking about speech and language development and early literacy, they're all part of those building blocks to support your child's success in being really great communicators, readers, and writers.
So when I talk about early literacy, my focus is largely on fostering a love or enjoyment of language through all of those interactions that I just mentioned and more at home, out in the world, and of course in the library, and in particular through library programs like Preschool Storytime or community partnerships like Read to Dogs, and through fun tactile resources that families can access through the library. So we have our More to Explore resources, which are play resources that can be used in the library. And we also will have very soon early literacy learning kits. So those are kits that you can check out on your library card and take home and use with your child. And all of this is free with your library card.
And so my speech and language program at Powell River Public Health is for children birth until 5. And so I have the great privilege of working with families and young children in supporting their speech and language development. And I love getting the chance to work with Sonia because so much of what we do overlaps in terms of building early literacy and language, and they go hand in hand. And so oftentimes when I see children one-on-one or get the chance to be out in the community, books are so much part of what I do because they offer opportunities to learn language and vocabulary and sentences and sounds and rhyming, and the list goes on and on and on. And so it's a really nice way to make those connections and support your child to be successful.
So maybe what I'm going to do now is I'm going to talk a little bit about Preschool Storytime because it is probably my main contribution to early literacy through library programming in Powell River. And I've done a lot of them. In the past 2 or 3 years since I took on this role, I've done over 300 story times, and I've seen the way that children coming to story time really does develop their attention, develop their coordination, the way when we're doing songs and rhymes, the way they begin to interact more and more. And I think that by talking about this, it might give parents some ideas also how to support early literacy at home. So in general, story time lasts around 30 minutes. And in that time, we are practicing early literacy skills in the most casual and fun and responsive environment that I can foster. And by responsive, I mean if the kids are really rambunctious today, if I can see that like we've got a younger crowd, I'm going to change out the books. I'm not going to do the longest ones, or I'm going to add more songs or more actions. And I think that families can do that at home as well. Be aware of, oh, is my kid digging this right now? Do we need to do something more bouncy or something maybe more sing-song? So these are just a few ways that Storytime responds or pays attention to what children are feeling at that moment.
And just like Sonia was talking about, when you're thinking about exploring books and activities at home with your child, so much of that, especially in this younger crowd, is following your child's lead, because they're going to indicate to you what they need right now and what things they're interested in. And bouncing off of what they're doing is going to keep that interaction going and keep their learning going. So if they're ready to be up and moving, maybe that's the time to do those action songs and those rhyming songs, or talk about something that's really interesting. And so keeping that going will keep your child's interest.
And I guess this is another, just to further emphasize that Storytime is for all preschoolers, including the wiggly ones, especially the wiggly ones. It's playful and it's participatory, and it incorporates picture books and songs and actions and puppets and visuals and ukulele. And it aims to be a place where preschoolers can build confidence in their ability to listen and to understand, to find meaning and humor in stories and pleasure in sounds or words, and ultimately build a positive relationship with language and books. And generally, the way we build positive relationships with things is to be having fun when we're doing them. So that is the overall aim of Storytime.
And that should be the overall aim in learning any skills, is having fun, because those little muffins that you have at home, they want to be having fun. So if you're learning language or early literacy skills or any of those things, fun is the key piece to that for you and for them.
And also, listening takes practice. And so Storytime recognizes that preschoolers are learning to self-regulate. They need to walk away and come back. They need to take a snack break in the middle of Storytime. The little ones need to stare at the bigger ones and go, wow, you can really do those claps and you can really do those moves. Sometimes they need to completely ignore the actual book. That's okay. Unless there is a full-blown tantrum in the middle of Storytime, everything is as it should be. And it's up to parents to not be too anxious if their child is one of the wiggly ones, and to remember that at this stage, we're not entering our children in the toddler Olympics of sitting still or getting from the beginning to the end of a book. We're fostering positive connection with language. And again, not being anxious, being relaxed in that moment is really key to having fun and building that positive in connection with language. And also just recognizing that those moments of social interaction and play are also part of a literacy foundation. So I think at this moment, we're going to show you just a few slides. These are slides that we use when we're working directly with families in our teaching early literacy skills. So we're just going to, if you don't mind, I'm just going to share my screen here for a second. Here we go. So this is our cover slide for our Early Literacy in Your Child series, which we repeat usually once or twice a year through the library. And this is one of our handouts, and it will be available through the library's literacy resources page. And I'm just going to give Alyssa a moment to talk about some of these early literacy tips.
Yeah, and so some of these things we've already talked about, but some of the things I want to highlight too is that literacy is everywhere. it's in your house, in your community, in your car. And so taking opportunities to point out letters on the signs and to point out words that are on the flyers at home, and to talk about words that are maybe new and exciting. So if you're in the car driving or at the park, maybe there's a new action word that you can talk about, or maybe the slide is really slippery and you can talk about what that means. And I think also thinking about that, fun songs and rhyming words are such a great way to build your child's early literacy skills. Learning how to rhyme is a skill that takes listening to the sounds and how they go together, and it supports your child's ability to make those connections. And so you can think about silly rhyming songs that you sang as a child, such as Down by the Bay, Where the Watermelons Grow. You can picture, right? All those silly things that go with that. And so reading and early literacy is not just books, it's everything that you do throughout the day.
And this is another handout. You can probably kind of at a glance kind of get the point of it. When do you read? In the morning, potty time, bedtime, quiet time, driving time, anytime. So the overall point of this slide is that there are lots of opportunity in the day, as Alyssa said, to engage with print. And in particular, I'm just going to focus a little bit more on reading from books, but reading from things like labels in the grocery store. What is this thing? What is that thing? Kind of narrating your shopping experience. When we have those kinds of interactions, we are growing vocabulary. And especially when we're reading to our children, books can teach less common words, because in our day-to-day lives, we often repeat the things we're talking about. We're getting ready for getting dressed with our children. We're having breakfast. There's kind of routines that we generally maybe talk about. But then there's dinosaurs, and there's bugs, and there's all of these other fascinating subjects that we will find in books, that when we're reading them to our children, they learn those words. They're learning vocabulary that we wouldn't commonly talk about, because those things just don't pop up in our day-to-day. Print is everywhere, and books are fantastic, and you don't have to read them from beginning to end. You can talk about the pictures in a book together. You can ask open-ended questions. You can repeat fun sounds or words. You can go backwards and forwards. There's not just one direction with stories and reading together. So these are some kind of inspiration pictures of home reading nooks. And one of the things we want to emphasize is that having books in your home doesn't have to be maybe a big setup. It can be as simple as a basket by your couch. It's really just about having books become part of your home ecosystem, having them be in a place that your child knows where to look, because they're always in that place. And so these are some ideas of how people have kind of made books, given books a place in their home.
Mm-hmm. And I think too, thinking about books as activities of learning, and activities to play, and activities to learn and explore. So just like you have your toy box that is in the playroom or the living room or wherever it might be, that toy box can include books, because children are going to explore those books in the way that works for them at that time. So that they might become part of the block tower, those books, but they also might be a time to look at those new pictures and talk about those things, and maybe acting out what's happening in those stories.
So that brings us to the end of what is, as we said, an introductory video to early literacy. So we definitely didn't cover everything, and we hope to make more in-depth videos about specific aspects of early literacy. But that's all for now. And we're going to include, as I said, some of the resources that you can access through the library at the bottom of this video. And Alyssa, anything else to kind of sign off with?
No, I just am so glad to be part of this introductory video, and it's always great to connect with Sonia, because we we share a lot of great interests and a love of supporting families and children. And so if you ever have any questions about your child's speech or language or early literacy development, you can always call me at Public Health, and that contact information will be available on the website as well.
All right. Goodbye, everyone, and thank you for watching.